We keep ants in glass boxes and call it curiosity. We watch them build, panic, adapt, and rebuild. We study their tunnels, their wars, their invisible rules, and we never once ask their permission. But from orbit, our own cities look almost the same. Grids of light spreading across a dark planet. Highways like trails, towers like nests. Billions of tiny signals moving through invisible networks. So how certain are we that no one is doing the same to us? This is not a story about proof. It is a story about a question that refuses to leave once you hear it. What if humanity was never only the observer? What if we are the experiment? An experiment needs three things: a subject, conditions, and something measuring the result. For most of history, we assumed we were the ones doing the measuring. We pointed telescopes into the dark, we split atoms, we mapped the brain, we built machines and asked them to explain reality back to us. But there is a quiet arrogance inside that assumption. We assume that because we can study the universe, nothing more advanced could be studying us. Maybe we are the eye pressed against the microscope. Maybe we are also the thing beneath it, the subject under observation, the variable inside conditions we never chose, and only recently the species holding the clipboard, measuring itself. Hold that idea carefully. Nothing here is a hidden truth. This is not a conspiracy. These are thought experiments, drawn from real science, philosophy, and the strange silence around us. But follow them far enough, and reality starts to feel less solid. Start with the oldest experiment of all. Earth is roughly 4.5 billion years old, a molten world that cooled, grew oceans, and eventually filled them with the first microbial life. From there, life became an unbroken chain of trial and error. No goal, no mercy, no scientist in a white coat. Only outcomes that survived and outcomes that disappeared. Trilobites crawled across ancient seafloors and vanished. Forests rose and burned. Dinosaurs ruled for millions of years, then disappeared in a single geological blink. Ice sheets buried continents, oceans rose, ecosystems collapsed and returned in new forms, and most outcomes did not survive. Most species that have ever existed are gone. In this laboratory, extinction is not the exception. It is the default result. Self-aware intelligence arrived in the final thin sliver of that timeline. Somewhere between the first firelight and the glow of a modern city at night, matter began looking back at itself and asking why it existed. But we are not the point of the experiment. We are its most recent result. And here is the unsettling part. The experiment is still running. The extinction rate today is far above the natural background rate, and this time, a single species is driving it. We are not just living inside the laboratory anymore. We have started rearranging the equipment. But if nature was the first laboratory, the next question is even stranger. What if someone else noticed the experiment before we did? Look up. The galaxy is ancient. Ancient enough that if intelligence were common, the stars should not look untouched. A civilization only 1 million years older than ours would be almost impossible for us to imagine. One 10 million years older might seem less like a civilization and more like a force of nature. So where is everybody? The physicist Enrico Fermi captured this mystery in a question that still haunts science. If the universe is so vast and the galaxy so old, where are they? We have searched the sky with radio telescopes. We have listened for signals, patterns, signals that do not sound like nature. And so far, nothing confirmed. No message, no structure, no reply. Just silence. There are many possible explanations for that silence. One of the darkest is the Great Filter, the idea that somewhere between dead chemistry and a civilization capable of spreading across the stars, there is a barrier almost nothing survives. Maybe that barrier is behind us, and humanity is unbelievably lucky. Or maybe it is still ahead. Maybe civilizations usually destroy themselves right after they become powerful enough to do so. But there is another possibility, a stranger one. In 1973, astronomer John Ball proposed the zoo hypothesis, the idea that advanced civilizations might already know we are here, but deliberately avoid contact. Not because they hate us, not because they fear us, but because interference would ruin the observation. The moment the subject knows it is being watched, the experiment changes. We treat this as normal when we study animals. We build reserves. We create controlled environments. We tag, track, record, and observe. So what if Earth is not being ignored? What if it is being left alone? What if the silence is not absence, but protocol? We keep waiting for a knock on the door, but maybe the door is locked from the outside. There is a deeper version of this idea, and it does not come from science fiction. It comes from philosophy. Nick Bostrom's simulation argument begins with a simple, uncomfortable choice. 1. Civilizations almost always destroy themselves before they become capable of simulating conscious worlds. 2. Advanced civilizations survive but choose not to run those simulations. Or 3. If advanced civilizations do run many simulations of their past, then simulated minds could vastly outnumber original ones, and a simulated mind from the inside would not feel simulated. It would feel like this. Bostrom does not claim that we live in a simulation. The power of the argument is more disturbing than that. He simply asks which of those possibilities you would bet against. If reality were a controlled environment, it would not need to look like a video game. It would only need to be convincing from the inside. A dream does not announce itself as a dream. A fish does not know what water is. And a conscious species inside a simulated universe might never find the edges of the system, because every tool it uses to search would also be part of the system. So what would such an environment be testing? Physics, consciousness, morality, civilization under pressure, or whether intelligence eventually becomes advanced enough to suspect the cage, but not advanced enough to escape it. The most terrifying prison is not the one with visible bars. It is the one that looks exactly like reality. But maybe the most disturbing version of this idea does not require aliens. It does not require a simulation. It only requires a screen. Because there is one experiment we know is running. We built it, and most of us are living inside it. Our faces lit blue in dark rooms, our attention measured in seconds, our desires translated into data, our fears, pauses, clicks, searches, messages, purchases, and doubts turned into predictions. The scholar Shoshana Zuboff called this surveillance capitalism. Private human experience becomes raw material. The things you do, the things you almost do, the things you look at but never say out loud, all of it can become behavioral data. And the point is not just to understand you, it is to predict you, and sometimes to shape you. In 2014, researchers altered the news feeds of nearly 690,000 Facebook users. Some people saw slightly more positive content, others saw slightly more negative content. Then the researchers measured whether the emotional tone of those users' own posts changed. The results suggested that emotion could spread at scale through algorithmic design. Most of the people involved never knew they had been part of an experiment. That was only one study. Today, billions of people live inside recommendation systems that constantly test what holds attention. Which thumbnail makes you pause? Which headline makes you angry? Which video keeps you watching? Which belief keeps you coming back? Every swipe is feedback. Every pause is a signal. Every click says, try this again. The internet may not be just a network. It may be the largest behavioral laboratory humanity has ever created. And the strangest part is that no alien intelligence had to build it. We did. We spent centuries searching the sky for someone studying us. We never noticed we had started doing it to ourselves. So return to the question. If humanity is an experiment, what is it measuring? Maybe the answer is simpler and darker than aliens or simulations. Maybe the test is this. Can a species survive its own intelligence? We discovered fire and used it to cook food, forge tools, and burn cities. We split the atom and lit homes, then built weapons that could erase them. We connected the planet, then filled that connection with manipulation, addiction, outrage, and noise. We built artificial intelligence, systems that can learn patterns in language, images, behavior, and code faster than any human mind can follow. And now we are asking machines we do not fully understand to help govern economies, information, security, creativity, and truth itself. We hold godlike tools with tribal minds. Nuclear weapons remain ready, climate systems are shifting, algorithms are shaping attention. Artificial intelligence is accelerating. and no one really knows whether civilization is becoming wiser or simply more powerful. The Great Filter may not be a wall somewhere out in space. It may be a moment in time. The narrow, dangerous adolescence when intelligence becomes powerful enough to destroy itself and has to choose not to. That may be the experiment. Not whether we can build machines, not whether we can reach Mars, not whether we can decode the universe, but whether a species can become powerful without becoming suicidal, whether consciousness can survive the tools it creates, whether intelligence can grow faster than its worst instincts. And here is the final twist. There may be no observer, no alien scientist, no simulation engineer, no cosmic judge waiting to grade the result. Maybe we are the experiment because intelligence always becomes an experiment once it becomes aware of itself. We are the scientist. We are the subject. We are the data. We are the mistake. And maybe if we survive long enough, we become the observer of something else. Picture Earth from orbit. The city lights flicker like neurons. Satellites move like sparks around a living brain. Every message, every search, every war, every prayer, every invention, every extinction, every dream, collapsing inward into a single blinking record in the dark. A civilization asking whether it is being watched while quietly recording itself. And if, at the end of all this, the only trace of humanity is a brief spike in some forgotten dataset, what was the experiment really about?